Hey everyone. It's 11 p.m. almost Eastern time, and you caught me as I was typing and just telling people I'm going live. I just put my kids to sleep because my kids are jinns who just do not sleep like normal humans. And I was gonna rest after just kind of working all day. But then, of course, you sit down in the United States of America at 10:45 p.m. Eastern time, and you expect a little bit of normalcy, but there is no normalcy when the president of the United States is a raging vulgarian, a criminal, a rapist with an alcoholic's personality. That's not my description. That's Susie Wiles, his national. His chief of staff. And this is a man who just today, earlier today, which should have been the biggest news, demands Greenland, which does not belong to him. The meeting that we had with the Danish and Greenland ministers ended in disaster because they're like, Greenland's not for sale, and we're your NATO ally. And Donald Trump's like, I still want it. And then right now, what we found out is he's still open to strikes in Iran, but hopefully there are some people outside of the administration who are saying, you know what, strikes against Iran will be deeply unpopular according to the latest polls. And also, oh, yeah, might trigger a war in the Middle East. And we don't really do well with wars in the Middle East. And you would think maybe that would be, oh, I don't know, the leading news. And also the other news, maybe the murder and the continued cover up, Renee Nicole Good, it just happened less than a week ago, in which the Department of Homeland Security is lying and says that Renee Nicole Good, an unarmed mother who had dropped off her kid, was a domestic terrorist who had weaponized her car against the ICE officer. You would think that would be the biggest news, the murder and the continued cover up and the celebration of the ICE agent, who, by the way, if he was so violently run over by the car, according to Donald Trump, or if he has, according to two agents and now the DHS, an internal bleeding, which some people also call a bruise. How did he so calmly walk towards the car, then calmly walk to his car, flee the scene, and the next day lift heavy computers as him and his family moved to another location? But I digress. That DHS and that government, which is creating crisis after crisis, and oh yeah, another one, Jerome Powell Sunday night. This is the top of my head, folks. It's 10:47 p.m. Openly shared with the world that he was threatened by the president of the United States and its DOJ to essentially lower the interest rates, or else he was threatened with a criminal indictment. You would think even that story would be the biggest story of the news, the breaking news, right? We'd be talking about it nonstop. Or oh, I don't know, the fact that yesterday Donald Trump, while visiting a factory, flicked off a fellow American worker from the heartland, right, from Main Street, and said "f you" to him because that man, who is a hero, I'm forgetting his name, it's escaped me, but I talked about it earlier today. UAW worker, just amazing dude who was later interviewed. Uh, he said, "Fate called upon me, and when fate calls upon you, you have to step up to the moment." And looking at Donald Trump, TJ, exactly. He said, "You're a pedophile protector. No lies detected." And the president of the United States of America flicked him off and said "f you" to him. And meanwhile, corporate media is really angry at the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, who said, um, "Get the f out, ICE, of our city." And they said, "Don't you think that was don't you regret that use of language?" And he goes, "They shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, but no such pearl clutching for Donald Trump." Now, with all that being said, you would think, okay, that's a lot to juggle. Oh yeah, and also the fact that Donald Trump illegally invaded Venezuela just what recently, like what was that, 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, and deposed and kidnapped Maduro and his wife, has put in a puppet regime, which is, by the way, very oppressive against protesters, and that he did it for the oil because he mentioned it multiple times. And even the oil company is like, why the F would we go invest in such an unstable region? And Exxon had said that, and he's like, okay, Exxon, no oil for you. And then we just found out last night that he has stolen a Venezuelan oil. Donald Trump sold it, and $500 million has been deposited, wait for it, in an offshore account. So these are just some of the stories that were swirling in my head. But then I sat down and we have breaking news that in Minneapolis, there is yet Another ICE shooting. A federal agent shot a Venezuelan immigrant in Minneapolis, Homeland Security says. Now, Homeland Security, which, again, for those who've been joining us right now, not really trustworthy. An institution that is literally lying to our faces. We have all seen the multiple videos of the shooting and murder of Renee Nicole Good. She reversed the car and then she moved it away from the officer. She did not violently run over the officer. Trump is lying. Uh, she was not a domestic terrorist. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is lying. And now we know that the Justice Department is pressuring attorneys to not investigate the shooter, the murderer, but to investigate, wait for it, Renee Nicole Good's widow and her activist activities. Okay? That DHS, that DOJ, this Trump administration now wants you to believe that this Venezuelan teen was attacking an ICE agent with a shovel. So I first read that. I'm like, oh my God, before I read anything else, I'm like, thank God the kid's not dead. And what else did you expect to happen when you unleash mass armed agents to terrorize a nation, a state, and a town? They want crisis. However, surprise, surprise, I'm just telling you what we know right now. Eyewitnesses say that actually this kid was running for his life, and apparently they shot him while he was fleeing and they were trying to make a type of arrest. So, in this batshit crazy country that we live in, filled with disinformation and right wing hacks and extremists, who knows what video footage, what it will reveal. So let's go with the Department of Homeland Security alleged, the right wing spin that's flooding social media right now. That apparently this Venezuelan immigrant, this teenager, attacked the ICE agent with a shovel. Um, all right, if it attacked him with a shovel, and he shot him, you can maybe make the excuse, okay, he was afraid for his life. Maybe. But it's also interesting how when there are white shooters literally shooting at law enforcement, they somehow survive all the time. But I digress. What did you think was going to happen? As we've always said on the left hook, if you unleash masked armed agents to knock door to door, to ram their cars and other cars, to zip tie children, right, to assault women, we've been saying this for a year. Eventually, what's going to happen? This is what we said. Number one, they're going to put their hands on the wrong person. There are a lot of guns in this country. A lot of people are pretty nutty. They might think someone is brown or black. It might be, and that person might be concealing and carrying it. If there's a masked armed person who doesn't show their badge, they might think it's a kidnapper, and voila, now you have death and violence and a shooting. Or number two, what could happen, and has already happened, if there are masked armed agents who are not showing their badge, terrorizing people, literally showing up anywhere and everywhere at Home Depots and 7-Elevens, if I was a sick and twisted psychotic and creative criminal, I'd simply put on a little bandana here, say I'm from ICE, and then go commit any crime I want. Oh yeah, that's already happened in LA, as people posing as ICE agents have already assaulted people and robbed stores. Now, again, this is breaking news. We don't know. I'm only telling you what I know, what I've seen. I've seen the videos right now about what's happening with the mass crackdown. Status coup news is on the ground right now. Fantastic work right now. They're showing that ICE is launching a barrage of flashbang grenades and chemical gas at unarmed Minneapolis protesters who are ducking and running for cover. This is happening right now. Status coup. At Status Coup on Twitter, Midas Touch has also shared these videos. You're seeing it's like I don't want to use the word war zone because I know it's overused and war zones are far worse, but literally, this is like a paramilitary force using weapons against unarmed Americans, flashbang grenades, chemical gas, irritants, tear gas. By the way, I was tear gassed in Turkey. I happened to be visiting Turkey during the protest, and like an idiot, because I'm a masochist, I'm like, let me be a citizen journalist and write an article for the Boston Review. So I went there. F my life. I tried to be safe, and then the Turkish police, pop, 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 tear gassed. I was stuck. I ran as fast as I could, got the tear gas in my eyes. Folks, if you've never been tear gassed, it ain't fun. I'm just telling you straight up. So they're tear gassing Americans on American streets because a lot of people have come out and are like, what the hell? You guys shot another person. And mind you, they have unleashed more troops, like 2,000 more agents to literally terrorized the streets of Minneapolis. Why, folks? Why? Because they want a war zone. Why, folks? Because they believe that they are at war with the rest of us. And a week and a half ago, uh, it's open, out in the open. ICE is spending millions of dollars to recruit. They call it, quote, wartime recruitment, wartime recruitment to protect the homeland and our heritage. These are white nationalist talking points. If you don't believe me, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again and again and again. These are Nazi talking points. DHS Secretary Christy Noem, the same DHS secretary that says, hey, Renee Nicole Good, she was a domestic terrorist, had to be shot in the face. She stood behind a lectern a couple of days ago with the Nazi slogan, one of ours, all of theirs, which was a Nazi slogan used by Nazis in World War II to justify the murder of every male in a village after a Czech villager killed an SS soldier. That's what they're now sharing. You've seen all the photos, the Norman Rockwell paintings of white men, manifest destiny, the use of the word homeland and heritage, the 13 stars of the Confederate flag around Abraham Lincoln, the post that's still up that talks about deporting more than 50 million people, remigration, which is ethnic cleansing. The news that came out today that they're temporarily suspending visas from 75 countries. There's about 193 countries, 75 countries. It doesn't even make sense because some of those countries, and the reason for it is we want fiscally responsible immigrants to come. We don't want the poor immigrants to come. All right. What about El Salvador? A lot of poverty there, off the list. What about Hungary? Uh, Shockingly off the list. It is reckless. And the reason why I felt so compelled to come on at 11 p.m., seeing this footage on the ground, reading about this shooting, which now the New York Times has finally written about as well, is what we assumed. Well, here's the Washington Post, just literally as I was speaking. Now they've come out with it. Let me tell you what their headline is: Federal agent shoots person in leg as Minneapolis protests flare. Attorneys for Renee Good, her partner, and immediate family promised transparency for the public as they investigate the killing of the mother of three by an ICE officer. A federal law enforcement officer in Minneapolis shot a person in the leg. Some are saying it's a Venezuelan immigrant. Wednesday night. The DHS said, as tensions between protesters and the Immigration Enforcement Agency continue to flare up throughout the city following the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good. In a statement, DHS alleged that the individual attempted to evade arrest. Oh, interesting. By driving their vehicle away from federal law enforcement officers, crashed it into a parked car, and then running away on foot. As an officer caught up with the fleeing person, two other individuals began attacking the officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle, according to Homeland Security. The person who was fleeing then, quote, began striking the officer. Okay, with the shovel or broomstick, the agency said, adding that both the officer and the person shot were being treated at a hospital. Again, I want you all to know that earlier today, C Bullshit News, otherwise known as CBS News, run by Barry Weiss, did propaganda for DHS and at the time quoted two agents who said that the officer who shot and killed Renee Good was suffering from internal bleeding. Haven't seen any photos of it. Haven't seen any x-rays. I'll tell you this, folks. If you believe that, I'm the president of Mexico and give me $5,000. And I'll tell you also this. If indeed there was internal bleeding, I guarantee it, there would be photos released. What I saw was a guy who called her an effing B, calmly walked over to her, saw that he shot and killed her, calmly walked to his car, drove away, seen multiple videos, seen breakdowns of the videos. Car never ran over her, never touched him, never ran over him. He was to the side, took out his gun, shot her. This was her car, this was him. Boom, boom, boom. Shoots her three times. That's the only way he can shoot inside the driver window. And if he was violently run over, my God, she should be studied by science. Well, what a medical marvel. So now this DHS, which I'm sure you all trust the government and Christy Noem and the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department and Kash Patel of the FBI. Um, Now they're saying is that the officer and the person shot were being treated at a hospital. All could be true. All I'm saying is I don't believe the DHS. That's all I'm saying. Washington Post could not immediately confirm details of the incident. Protesters continue to gather around Minneapolis, with residents denouncing immigration agents' tactics. Live footage from the streets of Minneapolis late last night showed protesters shouting, filming ICE officers on their cell phones amid what appeared to be a burst of tear gas. We've seen the video. Again, I strongly recommend it's online. There's people on the ground, independent journalists. I saw Midas Touch retweeted Status Coup News at Status Coup, COUP. You could see the video for itself. I mean, yeah, looks like a war zone. They're just flashbangs, tear gas. These are unarmed protesters. None of them are confronting ICE. None of them are throwing things at ICE. This is what Stephen Miller and Donald Trump want, folks. And the reason why I felt compelled to come on at 11 p.m. is, number one, this is breaking news. And number two, um, I don't think we have months. I don't think we have weeks. Things are devolving at a rapid rate. Uh, I think we have to be eyes wide open. This is not an I told you so. I get no joys from I told you so. I just want you to trust the evidence of your eyes. Don't believe me. Who am I? I'm just a guy who comes on Substack and writes, right? I'm just a writer. But I want you to trust the evidence of your eyes. I want you to trust the evidence of your ears. And if you still live in the delusional fiction that it can't happen here, you're suffering from a failure of imagination. I want you just to see, for those who joined us a bit late, 1,500 people, I did just a top of the head recap of some of the major crises that are happening just in the past week, folks, just in the past week. Murder of Renee Good, the cover up of Renee Good, the demonization of Renee Good, Donald Trump giving two Fs to NATO and our allies and saying, I want Greenland. The kidnapping of Maduro, a coup in Venezuela, stealing the oil and now depositing it in an offshore account in Qatar. I don't know how that helps Americans. Now another shooting in Minneapolis where I'm just taking what the information that I have, folks. Uh, online it's saying it was a Venezuelan immigrant. Uh, Washington Post says it's a person. Uh, DHS says that the officer was now in pursuit of this person, but then now he was being beaten up by two people, and then the person he was pursuing. Other reports online have said that actually no, this person, this immigrant, this individual who was shot was actually running away from ICE. Either way, what we're seeing is escalation, and this is exactly what Stephen Miller wants. And I just wanted to connect the dots for folks real quick, if I may. Um, in the summer, Stephen Miller, according to the Wall Street Journal, I try to bring the receipts and connect the dots. And this is my job because I know it becomes overwhelming for many people. According to the Wall Street Journal, a right wing outlet owned by Murdoch, Stephen Miller intentionally unleashed masked armed ICE agents in Los Angeles. Specifically, he deployed them. Oh, hey, Lev, if you want to come on in 2 minutes, let me know. Specifically, he deployed them uh, at Home Depot and 7-Eleven. The reason for deploying them at Home Depot and 7-Eleven is Stephen Miller wanted escalation. He wanted conflict. Instead, what happened, thank God, is that the local leaders cooperated, were peaceful, organized, to the point where the LAPD, go check it out, folks, the LAPD the next day tweeted out saying thank you to the local leaders for being peaceful. And they then went against the government. And what Stephen Miller was saying was it's an insurrection, it's an invasion. The LAPD. All right. So he didn't get his Ragstack fire. Now, if you watch the Left Hook, I mentioned the Ragstack fire a lot. You'll notice I mentioned a lot of terms that were popular during World War II and the Nazis. The Ragstack fire was the fire of the Reichstag building, which at the time was blamed on a communist activist. And it was used as a national security emergency in which the Nazi party said, hey, listen, we're under threat. This is a crisis. The Reichstag fire, the building has burned down. Let's crack down. And so Germany voluntarily handed the keys to the kingdom to the Nazi party. What did the Nazi party do? Implemented martial law, made Adolf Hitler a dictator, immediately suspended elections, curtailed liberties, and crushed the opposition. Now, in hindsight, and even at that time, people said that Reichstag fire, I don't know if it was actually a communist activist who did it. I think it was actually the Nazis who did it themselves and blamed a villain to justify martial law. Okay. So Stephen Miller has been looking for his Reichstag fire since the summer. He has been using the word invasion to the point where the Supreme Court, in a rare rebuke, said no. We're not being invaded. You cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act, which Stephen Miller wanted to invoke. The Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked a few times in U.S. history during wartime. The Supreme Court said, we're not at war. Stephen Miller said, wait for it. Look at the language. We're at war. We're being invaded. What is ICE spending millions of dollars doing right now? Their words, not mine. Wartime recruitment. He said we're being invaded by these immigrants. Rackstack fire didn't work. Supreme Court said, whoa, we've gone a bit too far. Second Rackstack fire, if you all remember, big balls or blue balls that freak Constantine, that 19-year-old Doge member. You remember this in Washington, D.C.? He claims a gang of black and brown thugs assaulted him and carjacked him. Donald Trump came out, he goes, this is what's happening in Washington, D.C. It's a hell, war zone, it's crime. I have to unleash the National Guard. You all remember that in the summer? Unleash the National Guard. They're still here wasting their time, wasting our taxpayer dollars, cleaning up trash. All right? That happened in Washington, D.C., another Rackstack fire. People have organized. He couldn't get the conflict. Then we saw the murder of Charlie Kirk. Before there was any evidence, before there was any proof, because Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, was trying to figure out what to do. And if it wasn't for the family member of Tyler Robinson, we still would not have a suspect because they were lost, deer in headlights. The FBI openly said we got no leads. Kash Patel, meanwhile, was cosplaying, and it just shows you how the FBI has absolutely no faith in them. They leaked this humiliating fact about him that he wouldn't leave the jet until he could find an FBI jacket that had FBI on, but the only jacket that fit him was a medium female FBI agent's jacket. So what happened before we got Tyler Robinson? You all remember. Donald Trump went, told the world it was radical left-wing terrorism. You all remember that? You all remember that? No proof. Then we found out it was Tyler Robinson. Even after we found out it was Tyler Robinson, they kept saying they, them. And we kept saying, who's they and who is them? You mean Tyler Robinson? Oh, no, because Stephen Miller went on TV and said, the last thing that Charlie Kirk told me and made me promise was I was going to go after radical left-wing terrorism. You all notice that? Rackstack fire, they couldn't get it because it was Tyler Robinson, a white dude allegedly in a relationship with an LGBTQ man from a white Christian conservative family who was not left or right, very right wing when it comes to guns, allegedly got radicalized in part by Charlie Kirk's anti-LGBTQ comments. Apparently, that's what we know. His friend said he was actually a gamer steeped in online gamer culture and Groyper language, apolitical, and they're like, shit, can't call him a radical left-wing terrorist. September, all right, that same month, we find out thanks to Ken Klippenstein. And if you can, folks, watch my interview with Ken earlier today. I published it. Ken has massive scoops. He has whistleblowers from ICE. There's two great scoops he has where an ICE whistleblower says that ICE agents themselves are afraid of the growing backlash. ICE agents, former ICE agents, call this a murder. They're horrified by this. 4,500 ICE agents were unmasked yesterday. There was a leak. And there's a lot of those names out there. And then the big bombshell that he dropped was that ICE is basically becoming the super paramilitary force that we all knew about. But specifically, there are secret programs that the government has created with all these absurd names like Operation Abracadabra that they want ICE to oversee. So it's not just immigration anymore. It's to basically be unleashed as a paramilitary force at the behest of the Trump administration with absolute immunity to go after any and all critics, right? And furthermore, I always try to remind people that it was infused with a $170 billion steroid injection thanks to the GOP billionaires bill, which is permanent tax cuts for the rich. In addition, they pay for it by gutting Medicaid, but they also gave $170 billion to ICE, not only ICE, but to create, wait for it, detention centers and private prisons, okay? While that was happening, National Security Presidential Memo 7 came out in September. That says that the government, the Trump administration, will now have an official list of indicators of radical left-wing terrorism, which is the number one threat. Well, what are some of these indicators, according to National Security Presidential Memo 7? Another great scoop from Ken. Indicators of terrorism or radical left-wing terrorism are, wait for it, anti-American sentiment. I'm not making this up. Anti-American sentiment, whatever that means. Anti-Christian rhetoric, anti-capitalist rhetoric. What does that mean? anyone could be a terrorist. Anybody can be deemed a terrorist by this regime, and then the full arsenal of the United States government, led by Trump's Gestapo ICE, will be knocking on your door. If you think you're safe, I give you Renee Nicole Good. If you think you're safe, look at the videos right now coming out of Minneapolis where ICE is using flash grenades and tear gas against unarmed citizens in the suburbs, not the inner city. Remember that code word in the 80s and 90s for poor black and brown people? Against suburban whites. Okay. Around the same time, September, what happened? Antifa was seen as a terror group. Okay. Fast forward, still looking for the Reichstag fire. Thankfully, people were organized, mobilized, no King's Rally, peaceful, right? Then you had an Afghan. Oh, they were drooling. Oh, they had priapism. They almost died from erections. An Afghan Muslim shot and killed the National Guard members. Oh, you could see Fox and the right wing. I'm sure they were just drooling. They were so happy. Another Reichstag fire. And then you saw Randy Fine, who's in good standing, who has not been censured, openly say mainstream Muslims are the problem. Mainstream Muslims should be eliminated. Randy Fine, Republican, hasn't been censured. Hasn't even been censured by Democrats. You know who they did censure? Rashida Tlaib. You know who they did censure? Um, Al Brown, who is a senior citizen who lifted up his cane and yelled at Donald Trump during his bullshit state of the whatever it was in the first couple of months of his presidency, right? That's who Democrats censured, but not Randy Fine, not Tommy Tuberville, right? Who said Islam is a civilizational threat, right? So they were going after Muslims, like, yes, we can finally go after Muslims. And then they found out that this Afghan national was trained by the CIA. Oh no, he was trained and radicalized by the CIA, working for their completely deranged psychotic unit. There's just horror stories falling about the work they did in Afghanistan, and apparently family members and friends said he was in part radicalized by that and his inability to integrate after he was given citizenship by the Trump administration. And so then that died. But if you notice, the next week what happened? Somalis. It was all about Somalis and Somali frauds and everything about the Somalis, and this is the number one fraud. And while this was happening, Donald Trump openly, because these guys are so lazy now. They're arrogant, they're lazy, they're incompetent, they're so corrupt, they can't even bother to lie to us. As they were talking about Somali fraud, which by the way was investigated by the Biden administration, DOJ, and the leader of that fraud was a white woman, Amy Bach, I believe is her name, and there are people already jailed, but I digress. That fraud, as that fraud was being investigated, and MAGA was so angry about that fraud, Donald Trump pardoned fraudsters, George Santos. Donald Trump pardoned this guy by the name of Gentile, Gentile is his last name. I think Robert or David is his first name, where he defrauded thousands of Americans for over $1 billion. He was about to serve 7 years in jail, and Donald Trump's like, okay, I get to pardon you. He pardoned a whole bunch of fraudsters, right? He also pardoned, remember drugs? Drugs were happening at this time. Drugs. And while this was happening and how it's connected to immigration, if you recall, on the left hook, we've talked about keep an eye on Venezuela. This is a bigger deal than it is. Donald Trump is unilaterally murdering Venezuelans, claiming that they are terrorists, and he has the jurisdiction to kill terrorists, but he hasn't shown proof that they're terrorists. And now DHS and DOJ and everyone else is saying is that they're drug smugglers and that we should celebrate drug smugglers and drug traffickers being shot and killed without any due process by the Trump administration, but they never, ever released any video. And then the one video that we do have shows that, wait a second, there are two unarmed men hanging for their life for 41 minutes on the side of the boat. And allegedly, Pete Hegseth, and he bragged about it, gave the kill order. But then he said, oh shit, I think I've admitted to a war crime. It wasn't me, it was the Admiral. Admiral Bradley did it. Oh no, it wasn't Admiral Bradley. Fog of war, fog of war. Hey, why don't you release the video? What video? What are you talking about? So we still don't have evidence whatsoever about these Venezuelan drug traffickers. Instead, what we know is that whenever there's a survivor, two survivors blown up, one other survivor probably drowned. And when we captured one survivor, what I would have done if I was a Trump administration, we have captured a drug trafficker. I do a huge press conference about it. What do they do? In less than 24 hours, they send him back to this country. Still haven't released any evidence. Over 100 people have been killed, which means the Trump administration has murdered most likely over 100 fishermen. without due process. Now, why did they say this? The DOJ and everyone else said this is Donald Trump going after drug traffickers. And this is, I always mention this. Pam Bondi said this when the cameras were on and Donald Trump, like, again, what happened yesterday, I think it was today or yesterday, he fell asleep. You all remember that? He, again, fell asleep today. Pam Bondi was next to him. He fell asleep. And she said, we're going to do to these Antifa and terrorists at home what we did to Venezuelans. And to which I asked, murder them? Anyone who watches the Left Hook, right? That's the question I've been asking. Murder them. Now I know the answer. Murder them. So now what's been happening in Venezuela is tied to this war on drugs, the war on immigrants that Stephen Miller has been about, which gives him the justification to unleash ICE against American cities, looking for his ragstack fire. And now, as Lev said, I don't know if he's watching, but Lev said that he got a couple of days ago when he was on, he said his sources are saying that they are chomping at the bit. They want protests. They want riots. They just want any excuse to crack skulls. They're doing, I mean, I hope I'm looking at it right now, folks. Um, I mean, listen, if you look at all the polls, within a week, America's turning on ice. Within a week. Donald Trump, as of today, is negative double digits on immigration. He's negative double digits on economy, in the negative 20s. And now, for the first time, he's negative 25 on foreign policy. I've been following these polls. A couple of weeks ago, he's negative 15 on immigration. He's gone to negative 25. That was his strongest issue. He was negative 15, 14 on foreign policy. That's gone to negative 25. Furthermore, if you look at all the polls, the majority of Americans side with Renee Nicole Good. They don't trust the administration. They're against ICE, and they don't think ICE makes cities safe. Give it one more week. I'm very confident that number will go from 51 to 52% to 60%. Okay. Uh, ICE has already shot one guy in the leg tonight with a bullet. They shot a young student protester point blank in the eye. And now apparently that student has lost the eye. Just tonight, flashbangs and tear gas into a crowd that literally was doing nothing, just had their phones out, and wasn't spitting at them, wasn't shooting at them, just decide, hey, we can do whatever we want. According to JD Vance, we have absolute immunity. Chased a man for whistling, and when they couldn't catch him, assaulted someone standing nearby, pulled a woman who was disabled from her car. You all saw the video. She was saying, hey, man, like, I just need to get to the doctors. What are you doing? They stopped her and then cut her seatbelt and dragged her out, shooting priests in the face with tear gas, shooting unarmed bystanders in the face with tear gas, to the point where the White House took a photo of that and posted it because that's what they're proud of, and sharing open Nazi slogans. And furthermore, this is happening right now. Things are getting worse, worse, worse. Uh, Status Coup News, I'm just quoting them, giving them some credit. 18 minutes ago, a white Minneapolis resident is being interviewed. Quote, "This is nuts. What the F is going on? This is insane. ICE is just trying to scare people. They tell you it's only immigrants. It's effing anybody." A furious Minneapolis resident told ZD Roberts after ICE shot a man in the leg tonight. Watch out, White. Watch out. ICE again launches barrage of flashbang grenades and chemical gas at unarmed Minneapolis protesters who duck and run for cover. And then we had Tim Walz today. Just give me a second, folks. I saw this right before I got on. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz 2 hours ago, a direct-to-video breaking news. He delivers an address amid chaotic ICE crackdown. Governor Walz says, quote, I'm going to quote him in full. Just stay with me. "What's happening in Minnesota right now defies belief. News reports simply don't do justice to the level of chaos and disruption and trauma the federal government is raining down upon our communities. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools. They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process. Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. This is key. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government. This is a type of language I need more Democrats to use, folks. Terrorizing, no longer about immigration enforcement, retribution. This week, he went online to promise, quote, that the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of the state who dared to vote against Trump 3 times and who continue to stand up for freedom with courage and empathy and profound grace. Earlier today, Jasmine Crockett joined a few other House Democrats in saying she's calling to impeach Kristi Noem. We've had Chris Van Hollen and a few others come out and say that they're not going to fund Department of Homeland Security. By the way, Congress has the power of the purse, and the funding for DHS is happening this month. I'm asking all of you, and I know some of you get really pissed off at me when I criticize the Democratic establishment. Why isn't the Democratic leadership openly saying, abolish ICE? They're terrorizing our communities. This is not why it was created. They are not doing any immigration reforms. They're murdering people. They do not have absolute immunity. They're making people less safe. As me and Ken talked earlier today, and that video is up, I strongly recommend reading it. Ken's doing fantastic work. We just want people to fight, man. Just fight. Change people's minds. People are fluid. If you're telling me, well, look at the latest poll, and we tried it briefly several years ago, and people didn't change their mind, and we can't change people's mind. By that same rationale, we'd still have segregation. Women still wouldn't be allowed to vote. Gay people wouldn't be allowed to be married. I wouldn't be here thanks to the Immigration Nationality Act of 1965 that brought my parents here, and I was born and raised here as a citizen. Are you kidding me? People are fluid. They can change. You've seen the polls in just 1 week. A majority of Americans are already like, whoa, 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 shit, man. This is not what we signed up for. We're not for ICE. He's gone negative 25 on immigration. Negative 25. He was plus 10 with Gen Z. He's now negative 50. Latinos who voted for Donald Trump, he's now down to 2016 numbers. People are fluid. We live in the United States of amnesia. People are susceptible. You have to lead them. They've already tasted the crumbs. Now lead them to the message, lead them to the promised land. You come out and you lead and you say, this is wrong. They're terrorizing our communities. We don't need ICE. ICE is the Gestapo. They shot and murdered Renee Nicole Good. They're covering it up. If it's Renee Nicole Good today, it's your community tomorrow. This has stopped being about immigration enforcement. This is Donald Trump using his own Gestapo to terrorize Americans. Enough is enough. We have the majority on our side. We have the polls on our side, and we're going to do our part to make sure that ICE doesn't kill you and your family next. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. What am I missing, folks? I'll wait for you. What am I missing? Why doesn't every Democrat abolish ICE, prosecute ICE, investigate ICE? Someone lead. Someone lead. At the very least, impeach Noem. What are you waiting for? She lied. She lied to the American people. Impeach Noem. She's the head of DHS. ICE is within DHS. Impeach Noem. Try your best. Just try. Even if you can't, we know you tried. And then you can blame the Republicans. That's it. And it stays in the news. The more and more you impeaching Kristi Noem. Why? Murder of Renee Good. Play her lie again and again and again. She's a domestic terrorist. She's a domestic terrorist. She's a domestic terrorist. And put the photo of Renee Good right next to Kristi Noem's quote. Put Kristi Noem's standing behind the lectern with the Nazi slogan, and then put an actual quote from a historian talking about how that Nazi quote was used. One of ours, all of yours. One of ours, all of yours. This is easy. I'm not even a politician. I'm giving this advice for free. You just need courage. You just need courage. Is anyone willing to stand for anything? These feckless cowards, man. And so forgive me for my I rarely get upset, but for my passion. I'm not yelling. I'm not swearing. Anyone who accuses me of being an angry brown man, when have you ever seen me angry? I try to be very cool, calm, and collected. I get passionate. I'm just saying it out like the people are with you, man. You already got 53%. You got 52%. 18% aren't sure. You can get 8% of them. Now you got 60. You got 60 to 65%. I guarantee you that number will grow, grow, grow. You message it, people will come along. They're susceptible now. They've been softened. But you can change people's minds. People are susceptible. You give them a better story. They'll take that story. How does this make our community safer? Do you believe your lying eyes, or do you believe Donald Trump? Do you believe Renee Nicole Good and unarmed mothers deserve to be shot in the face? Do you believe she was a domestic terrorist? Do you agree with ICE terrorizing communities? Is this making you safer? Is this making America great again? I don't know, folks. That's just me. My take on this, folks, and the reason why I came on is I think forget months, days and weeks, days and weeks. Trump is declining. There's remorers around him who are using him, flattering him, and taking advantage of him. Stephen Miller is the most powerful unelected man on earth. He's the person who apparently is a de facto head of DOJ and DHS. He's the person who's pretty much behind the scenes doing a lot of this. There's also yes men who are complicit, people who are going to go down with the ship, people like Kristi Noem, people like Kash Patel, people like Pam Bondi. There's multiple cover-ups. There's covering up of the Epstein files. There's the cover up of Renee Good's murder. There's also the economy, which is about to just nosedive. As you all know, you all feel it, you all see it. You see our allies betraying us, turning away from us. You're going to see tourism to America come down. You're seeing the complete attack on our healthcare infrastructure. Last night, news came out that they're going to gut $2 billion worth of research and grants into mental health. And thankfully, as of now, they have backed off from canceling $2 billion in substance abuse and mental health grants. That was last night. $2 billion in addiction and mental health grants were canceled last night. And because a lot of white Americans, a lot of red states were like, whoa, 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 fentanyl. Holy shit, $2 billion? Wait a second. And they're like, okay, this is a bridge too far. So as of an hour ago, we just found out that RFK has backed off of canceling the $2 billion in substance abuse and mental health grants. That was last night. It wasn't in the news because there's 14 other crises. Um, yeah, thank God. But by the way, they changed the vaccine schedule and vaccine hesitancy has gone up and measles is now skyrocketing. So has whooping cough. And now we're afraid of the bird flu and polio. So Americans are going to get sicker. We're already dying younger. There's going to be less tourism to America. Our allies are aggressively turning away from us. Trump could potentially blow up NATO by making a move on Greenland. He could potentially blow up the Middle East by attacking Iran or being seen as attacking Iran or fomenting a regime change. We already have the Western Hemisphere turning against us because he's threatened Canada to be the 51st state, has already threatened Colombia, threatened Cuba, threatened Mexico, already engaged in a regime change. This man clearly is unwell. And now they're openly sharing Nazi, not neo-Nazi, Nazi slogans, and they're looking for a ragtag fire. And I always try to keep the receipts. My ears buzz. They've used the word insurrection several times, and when Pam Bondi and Donald Trump were asked about the Insurrection Act, they didn't say no. Will you use the Insurrection Act? Both of them didn't say no, and that should keep you up at night. And so this is an all hands on deck moment. I believe, and I hope my prediction is wrong. He's not leaving peacefully. He's not leaving legally. My prediction is they're going to unleash more untrained, undisciplined white supremacist recruits. They're going to deputize them. They're going to give them a gun and a mask. They're going to unleash them in blue cities. I believe this is all a precursor to the Insurrection Act and martial law. I hope I am wrong. I want to be wrong. I hope he dies before that. But I think this is what's going to happen. Uh, take him literally and seriously. They're playing for all the marbles. Another little factoid that I always like to remind y'all. A couple of weeks ago, Reuters reported that the Trump administration has threatened to sanction the ICC unless the ICC promises not to prosecute members of the Trump administration. Who does that, folks? Who does that? Just saying. Ellie's here. Is he even building the ballroom? I assume that where he's hiding. He is building the ballroom, Ellie. And folks, just to show you how he's disintegrating, a couple of days ago when he was in that meeting, and it was on camera with the oil tycoons, randomly, he gets up, go check out the video, gets up, goes to the window, looks at his ballroom bunker, mutters something, gets a note from Marco Rubio. The note says, talk to the head of Chevron. He reads the note out loud, then ambles back. I don't know if you saw, I think it was yesterday when he was at the factory, like 30 seconds of him making like those strange orgasm noises. And the people in the crowd were like, what the what? He fell asleep again today, surrounded by people. I don't know if you saw, literally fell asleep again today. Has fallen asleep multiple times now. We've been talking about in this left hook. I've been noticing it ever since. I'm like, this mother effer's falling asleep again and again and again. Bruises now on both hands. On both hands. They don't deny the bruises now. I mean, we're in some awful territory, folks. We're in some awful territory. Ellie, since you're here, I'll bring you on. Just want your thoughts before we head out here. And also just to shamelessly promote Ellie, and maybe we can get her more subscribers, paid subscribers, so she can find a new place and move away from her horrible landlord. I still believe, and let me use this metaphorically, a silver bullet. is the Epstein files. Lev agrees with me. I believe this is Achilles' cankle. I'm not saying the other stuff doesn't matter, folks, but the polls show that was 75% of Americans agree on releasing the Epstein files. That number has now gone to about 80 to 84%. Uh, when you have an auto worker, when they asked him, "Are you liberal?" He goes, "No, I'm independent. I've supported conservatives in the past. I'm just disgusted by this cover up." He called him a pedophile protector. I believe the Epstein files can be something that could put him on the back foot, Ellie, and I think it could be something that could get him nervous. I
Yeah.
think it could be something that could cause dissension, and I think it could be something that causes him to at least temporarily it could throw sand in the gears of the fascist machine, which is why I think a lot of this is part and parcel of the goal as articulated in Project 2025 and Ellie, a distraction. Your take. This is Ellie Leonard of the Panic Writer, who has read every single published Epstein email and
Yeah.
file, does dogged reporting, and go check out her Substack where she has categorized it and done analysis of it. It's fantastic work, God's work, I would say. She's independent. She has a terrible capitalist special
Yeah.
right now, matching my also terrible capitalist special, where for $3.75 a month you can support her. So I'll put that link while she speaks. Ellie, take it away.
Yes. Hi. I'm like half asleep, but I'm here. I saw you pop on. I was watching the stuff out of Minneapolis, and we were talking today about how the Epstein files, when we're getting distractions now, and even if they're valid distractions, like Renee Brown Good. I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. Um, Even if the distractions are very valid, they're big things, they're big news stories. We bounce back quicker to the Epstein files every single time because we know that that is the key to all of this. And so that's got to be frightening for Trump right now. I mean, if he's even cognitively there and aware and able to process emotion anymore, which I kind of doubt, um, that has got to be really frightening because we're not distractible anymore. The entire nation of 340 million people are no longer distracted.
I see it trending nonstop. Every single day, I see it trending. I see it trending on Twitter. I see it trending on Blue Sky. People are like, cool, cool, cool. Epstein files? Cool, cool, cool. Where are the Epstein files? Interesting. What about the Epstein files? Wasn't there a
What about them?
deadline? Wasn't there a deadline, Ellie? Can you tell me about the deadline?
Yeah, we're like 2 weeks past it, and, when we think about that we have 1% of the files, I believe, at this point, you think about how many files that is to go and how much we've gotten from the 1%, we're still digging through the 1%. So you think about when somebody says that we have 1,000,000 Epstein files to go, like, a file is not a single page. Like, it is not a single if you think of a PDF, that's not a million-page PDF. A file could be 100 pages. It could be 1,000 pages, it could be 10 pages. Like, we have a lot of information, and right now we're digging through it. We're figuring out how to dig through the redactions, and it's a little overwhelming, I'm not gonna lie. But when you think about how much we've gotten from just like a minute portion of it, plus we have the Epstein estate, plus we potentially have a lot of interviews from Michael Wolff, you have interviews from Steve Bannon, like, it's Lev Parnas. We just hang out all the time now.
The crew is
And I see Nick's here as well. Hey Nick, I'll
Hi,
bring
Nick.
Nick on after.
Yeah,
So I'll
Papa.
just rotate. I'll get Lev. I'll switch in Nick for Ellie. Then I'll switch in Zev for Lev. But we'll keep going. Yeah, we're talking about Lev. I don't know if you heard the latest news. I felt just really compelled to jump on because I've seen it's the latest shooting. Both the New York Times and Washington Post have confirmed it. The New York Times says it was an immigrant. Online, they say it's a Venezuelan immigrant. Washington Post said it's a person. Conflicting reports. Some people on the ground say that this guy, this Venezuelan immigrant, this young guy, was running for his life. And then DHS now says, well, it was a arrest and he was running away from ICE. And then two people came out and started beating up this ICE agent with the broom and shovel. And then this guy who was running away decides to come back and say, aha, I will beat you instead of running away. And now they're both in the hospital. And I just had to remind people I did a connect the dots DeLorean, and all I said was, "Listen, I'm gonna wait for the video and the evidence,
Yeah,
but
which
I ain't
we
gonna
have.
believe
We'll have it.
DHS.
Right?
I ain't
That
gonna
is the
believe DHS." But
magnificent. We live in a time of cell phones, and that makes this so magnificent because nobody can just say this is what happened because we will have 12 different versions of the same video, and we're going to see what happened.
And it's about the majority. It's about winning
Yeah.
over the majority, though. But as this is happening, Lev, something you and I have warned about and talked about, and your sources have said, and I'm mentioning what your sources have said since the summer. We have said they are gearing up for the Insurrection Act and martial law. If you've been looking at the videos that are happening right now, folks, for no reason whatsoever, these thugs, this Gestapo, are using flashbangs and tear gas against unarmed suburban white folks who are doing nothing. I have been tear gassed. It is not fun. I got tear gassed in Turkey. Lev, you've joined. What have you heard? What are you hearing? What do you think?
Yeah, no. First of all, you're 100% right. I mean, me and Ali's had a crazy day today. We've been, we were talking about the Epstein files all day, and I'm getting ready to go to New York tomorrow. I'm going to be on Abby Phillips,
Oh,
and,
nice.
and I'm going to be,
Are
going.
you gonna be at that round table with that mother effer Scott Jennings?
Oh, I'm going to Scott Jennings
Give
tomorrow.
him my love, my
Tomorrow,
personal love.
tomorrow we're gonna have some fun with Scott Jennings,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, but I was just got off the phone actually with some people. I mean, it's crazy. What you're saying is literally being discussed right now in the White House. I mean, the word like insurrection is being floated around right now as we speak. They're talking about literally going after Waltz as the head insurrectionist.
Wow.
Todd Blanche has already come out with a post saying this is not a threat, this is a promise. What you're doing is started using the word insurrection. If you want to quickly look at it to see if I don't know if you saw that post, but literally right now,
Who said that? Who said that?
Todd Blanche. Todd
Okay,
Blanche
gotcha.
post on X. Literally, this is happening right now, and again, uh, crazy stuff from what I'm hearing. I mean, they're watching this like a video game on TV play out, and they're sending in more reinforcements to make this like we've been talking about, folks. There's really right now really scary situation playing out. And so that right now I'm watching it live as it's playing out. People in the streets, and they're watching this, and they are floating already the insurrection word. They're already calling Waltz's tactics and rhetoric as insurrection, and they're calling what's happening inside of Minnesota as an insurrection. So it's not. This is not what.
Literally what I was talking about before. That's literally what I was talking about right before you came, and it wasn't just me talking about it. Was I tried my best to bring the receipts and talk about how this is the word that's been used by Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi. Folks, it's we don't have weeks, we don't have months. It's days. They look at the numbers. They know they're losing. Um, and Stephen Miller has been dreaming about this since ninth grade, and he has impulse control. He's like Giggity from Family Guy, but at least that guy was just horny. This guy is like a horny white nationalist. He's like giggity giggity, no, oh, I can finally do it. He wants it now. And just today, Lev and Ellie, just to show you how they're going warp ludicrous speed, to quote Spaceballs. Ludicrous speed, because they realize I want it now. Now's the power. This is it. This is my moment. Blitzkrieg. Today, 75 nations of I think the 193 nations on Earth, we're gonna stop processing visas right before the World Cup. That's all Stephen Miller, Ellie and Lev.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. My son will be
I'm
very unhappy if the World Cup doesn't happen, but we'll go.
I was gonna say, that's I got so much going in my. That's like the smallest on my talent pool right now. I swear to you, in the
No, but
future.
I'm saying it's part and parcel.
Yeah.
It's
But
part and
it's all
parcel
but,
of the white
no,
nationalist
no,
agenda.
but you're 100
It
percent
is.
right. All of this is part of one big thing. At the end of the day, you could take it up. At the end, at the end of the line, it's called Project 2025.
Hmm.
It's called Stephen Miller. It's called Russell Vaught. It's called the Federalist Society. This is we've been screaming, yelling at the top of our lungs. I mean, Waj, I see already is can't even sleep, coming out at 11,
Hmm.
12 o'clock at night. We're following along with him because listen, at the end of the day, who could sleep? I mean, you're watching TV and you're sitting here knowing that you got people in the White House that are not trying to unify a country. They're not using words of unification, peace. Instead, you got the second man in command, Attorney General Todd Blanche, literally already coming out using the insurrection word. You got Stephen Miller inside the White House right now. They're watching this like a reality show, talk about insurrection and when and if it's going to be employed. So yeah, it's a very very scary time. That's why we say the
Yeah.
one we don't have is time, and that's why we have to act every day. We have to take it as that day because in this war, because Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, that whole crew, they're looking for an excuse, folks, and that's why like I said, it's a dangerous time we're living in right
Let me read this quote by Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is Deputy Attorney General, Donald Trump's personal attorney, who
Yeah.
went and talked to Ghislaine Maxwell,
Yes, he
and then
did.
after 2 days, magically in less than a week, Ghislaine Maxwell got a transfer not given to any other person with her status as a child predator, and where she now has a service dog and gets high-profile visitors and gets yoga lessons in Club Fed in Texas. Todd Blanche, 2 hours ago, is saying the following. ICE operates in thousands of counties without incident. Bullshit. Men and women doing their jobs protecting us from criminal aliens. Bullshit. Minnesota insurrection
there you
is
go.
a direct result of a failed governor and a terrible mayor encouraging violence against law enforcement. It's disgusting. Waltz and Frey. I'm focused on stopping you from your, wait, terrorism by whatever means necessary. This is not a threat, it's a promise. What more do you all need to see? Trust the evidence of your eyes and ears. Every allegation, every accusation is a confession. It's all projection. They want any excuse to unleash the Insurrection Act, and then it's going to be martial law. And we already have heard about Donald Trump
Yeah.
trying to see if he can control voting. He wants to end mail-in voting, right? He still promotes the lie. They look at the polls. They see that they're losing the special election after special election. They realize there's going to be accountability. They're playing for all the marbles. They're not going to leave peacefully. That's why I'm awake, because I see what's
Right.
happening right now, Lev and Ellie, and I'm afraid this is going to escalate. And by the time I wake up tomorrow, we're going to have,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
That,
chaos.
that's
Yeah.
that's what that's
I
what I'm worried about right now. Also,
I was just gonna say, I've said for a long time now, when Trump hopped on the news and said, "Oh, they think I don't want, I'm not gonna run in, or I'm not going, there's not gonna be an election, or I'm not gonna, I'll run for a third term." That probably won't happen. That's semantics. He doesn't plan for there to be an election to run or not run for. Like that's his ultimate goal. And I don't think he's waiting for the 2028. He's planning
Oh,
for the
no.
2026, right? Like this is his goal. He knows he's screwed if we go through with the 2026 election. He's screwed. And so I don't think he's planning on having it. I'm positive that that is his goal.
Yeah, he's not. This is and anyone who says 2 years. Someone said 2 years. I think it was Ken. I was talking to Ken. He said 2 years. I'm like, bro, we don't have 2 years. And
Yeah.
as of tonight, I hope I'm wrong. I want nothing more to be wrong, folks. If I'm wrong, wonderful. I'll come on. I will eat halal crow. I don't have crow, so I'll eat like liver and kidney, which I find is tasty, but I'll eat it for you. And I'll say, look, I'm wrong. And then you guys say, Wad, you were wrong. I'm like, I was wrong. You're like, ha ha,
Fine.
you're wrong. I'm like, yep, yep, ha ha, I'm wrong. Whipped cream on my face.
Yep.
Um, egg on my face too. Throw a pie in my face also. Have fun, because I don't mind being humiliated and being wrong on this, because that means our communities are safe and secure and not under threat by the Gestapo. But I don't think we have months, Lev. I don't think we have months anymore.
no, we
Mhm.
definitely. That's why I say, we don't have time to get the No Kings rallies. We have no time to get ready for elections. We need to act now, every day. And like, I'll give you a great example. Today, you have Democrats. I think Crockett came in and they put out impeachment against what's her name?
No.
See, no. Now, right now, I'm gonna just say to you, folks, each and every one of us, everybody right now, the whole country, we want this to stop. We need to get on our phones and we got to get three Republicans to agree with that and start filing these impeachments. That stops it right away. I mean, that stops it right away, folks. I mean, with Christina Home is a psychopath. She is literally lost it. I think too many of these shots that she's been taking has gone to her brain. And this is, I mean, she has no emotion. I mean, this is a woman,
Yeah.
and, we talk about.
Lev, don't blame the Botox. What did Botox ever do to you?
you know, you know, I, to each his own, Wise, to each his own. But I'm just saying, like, listen, it's not.
Maybe it's just her. Like the Botox doesn't make everyone evil. By the way, I've never had
Yeah, no,
Botox,
I was
so
gonna
I'm just
do you
having
know?
fun. Uh, you can see. Look,
My wife keeps saying I need
look at
some
that.
right
Look at that.
Your
Yeah,
facial
I
that's right.
expression.
I have
How
aged
long was
horrifically.
my
But
split?
let me ask you this, Ellie and
Sure.
Lev, because I said this early tonight. I feel very strongly about this.
Hmm.
And I said this even right before you all came on. Why is it, and good for Jasmine Crockett. I publicly thanked her on Blue Sky. What does that mean? Nothing, but I try to, I think people should be rewarded for doing good stuff.
Hmm.
Why, oh, why is it taking these Democrats this effing long to say the basic of, hey, let's impeach Kristi Noem. Hey, let's not fund DHS this month. Hey, let's abolish ICE. What more do they need to see? Ellie, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, it's confusing to me. For a long time, I thought maybe they're just doing something behind the scenes. We don't know about it. They're building, they have a plan. But it's been a long time now. It's been a year, and we haven't really heard anything. And the people who were the loudest voices all of a sudden are not loud anymore. And I'm just wondering where people are going. It seems like people are getting quieter. I don't know if it's because they're planning on running for things and they're trying to save themselves, but like I would assume that saving yourself right now is saving the country. That's just my thought, and maybe that's because I've never run for office, but like this isn't a real time to be like diplomatic and I don't know. I don't know. It just feels like, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like everybody is just thinking ahead for their next election and how can I save myself and how can I look the greatest and how can I be toward the center? And we don't need that anymore. There is no center. Centers don't exist anymore.
Can I tell you all, there's a press conference with Mayor Frey in Minneapolis. Lev, before I let you come in, let me
Yeah.
just read you some of the stuff that he said. What I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. We're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street. By the way, folks, ICE has overwhelmed local police. Well done. This is the wolf that you let into the henhouse, but I digress. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another. We have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Patrol, are creating chaos. This is not the path we should be on in America. Imagine if the city or town you're in was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that do not share the values you hold dear. Imagine if your daily routines were disrupted. The local cafe where you eat was shut down because they're scared that their own family might get torn apart. Imagine if schools shut down. Schools have shut down in Minneapolis and suddenly parents got to figure out what to do for daycare. He continues, this is not creating safety. It's certainly not creating safety when a huge percentage of the shootings that have taken place so far this year in Minneapolis have been by ICE. For anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. That is not helpful. Go home. We cannot counter Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos. And I have seen thousands of people throughout our city peacefully protesting. For those that are taking the bait, you're not helping, and you're not helping the undocumented immigrants in our city. You're not helping the people that call this place home. We cannot be at a place right now where America, we have two government entities fighting one another. And then this is where he responds to, I think, Blanche. First, I'll say, show me a single place where I have encouraged anything other than peace. I have said from the get-go, the people in Minneapolis do not take the bait. We are better than that. Lev, your response to Frey so far.
No, listen, look, Frey is in a really hard position, so it's tough, to judge a person there. I'm going to say, push back and say, listen, it's hard to keep emotions. I mean, it's easy to come up there and say, don't take the bait, but Donald Trump understands, and so does Stephen Miller, that human beings are humans. I mean, there's so much you could push a person, there's so much you could go on, especially when it touches your family or your friends or your neighborhood. And sometimes you just like, it's enough is enough, and just like and people, unfortunately react in different ways. And that's why Trump understands that. That's why they keep doubling down, sending more guards in, getting the rhetoric. And that's why I say, folks, I mean, we have a solution. We have an answer. I mean, we have Republicans in the House. The House is open right now. Right now, we want to be useful. We want to we got to take our anger and energy and put it in the right place. Let's go flood Washington D.C. instead of getting these, and each and every congressman and something worthwhile, and let them and put impeachment on Kristi Noem. The House can stop this, folks. The House could stop funding to ICE. The House could. Am I wrong, Wash? Am I imagining? Am I like? I mean, we have a
At least
solution.
try,
Like,
try.
I mean,
Try.
like I say to you,
Do a press conference.
but,
Try.
but to answer your first question, and that's why I think it leads into why we're in this position to begin with, is that because not everybody is meant to be in a certain position. And Hakeem Jeffries has showed that he is not the person for the job. The reason why you have this order is because you need leadership. You need somebody right now to come out there and say, this is what we're going to do. Because right now, like you said, you have a lot of people that are, each one of them are thinking about their own races, their own states, their own situation, and it's all diverse. And there's nobody, like you said, there's no press conferences, there's no unity, there's no getting together. And this is what we're gonna every day file impeachments, every day put it to the floor, every day let them vote and say no against it. You know what I'm saying? Schumer, what can you say? He's already lost it. I mean, he needs to go home, retire, spend some time with his grandkids. We need some fresh blood. We need some people to come in there and to take the bull by the horn and fight them at their own game. You know what I'm saying to you? And I'm not saying we have to do something illegal because that a lot of the stuff they do illegal, but we have to be loud. We have to be aggressive when we have to be. We can't be on the defense. We can't sit like just like what like think about what's happening right now. The mayor is actually, if you read that post, he's worried. Mayor
Absolutely.
Spray right now is worried that they could come arrest him by because the words he is now, and just think about the crazy world we're living in right now, folks, for 1 second. That I mean, the mayor of Minnesota has to worry, and the governor of Minnesota have to worry about they're protecting their city because right now the president of the United States with his inner circle are planning how they could arrest him, how
I
they
won't
could
be surprised.
live with and take over. Just think about it. Regime change in Minnesota. This is the sick part, folks. They're thinking about how they could do regime change in their own country. You know, I mean, forget
And,
about
and
Venezuela. I mean, I'm
and
sorry,
this
but
is what happens in authoritarian regimes. And Ellie, I know you got to go. I'll bring
Yeah.
Nick in, and we'll end in
Yeah.
10 minutes. But I want to
bring
read
that
you the
you
final.
bring Zeb up if you want. Also, if he's
Oh, yeah,
here.
okay. Let me read these two things that he said because the Fry conference, I don't know if it's ended, but this was just recently, about 8 minutes ago. He said, I've seen conduct, excuse me, this, we need our officers responding to the basic day to day 9/11 calls. We don't have the capacity to deal with that and all of this conduct that we're seeing from ICE on a daily basis. Today and yesterday, I was out on a major couple commercial corridors in our city. People are scared. I've seen conduct from ICE that is disgusting and intolerable. If it were your city, it would be unacceptable there too. ICE can leave and this massive deployment can come to an end. We have filed litigation to hopefully make it so. In the same time, I'm deeply concerned we don't have that kind of time. Ellie, final words to you for the
Um,
evening.
they don't have time. I mean, they were just doing this on the streets of Minneapolis. They were just fighting for their city. They were just fighting against the police. They were just fighting for their own citizens. And it must feel like they were just there. And they are right now. I'm watching this like live stream as I'm talking to you guys of the streets of Minneapolis, and they are
Yeah.
standing out there in whatever temperature it is, and they are being gassed back by law enforcement, and they are citizens in their own town protecting. I mean, this is like a neighborhood. This is not on the city streets. It's like a neighborhood with houses, and they are
Yeah, suburbs.
yeah, yeah, it's just little neighborhoods, and they're protecting their own citizens, and nobody is being violent. Nobody is being, there are no weapons amongst the citizens, but they are being tear gassed and they're being flashbanged and they're being
Here's a
used back
here's a
right now.
quote. Here's a quote. It looks like Call of Duty outside. It's effing crazy. Get ICE out
Yeah.
of the city. Minneapolis city resident after ICE shot a man in the leg and unleashed onslaught of grenades and chemical gas on unarmed protesters.
Mhm.
And I'm quoting Status Coup News.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's what I'm watching actually.
They're on the ground. They're doing great
Yep.
work. Status
Yeah.
COUP. Ellie, shamelessly promote yourself to people. You're a mother of. You have even more kids than me. I have 800 kids. You have 900 kids.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Shamelessly promote, and actually, Lev wins. Lev has 1,200 kids. You have
Yeah. I've
900. I
heard.
have
I heard.
800.
We could start an
Uh,
army.
Ellie, tell people how they should support you and can
Yeah.
support you for doing fantastic work.
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me come on in my pajamas and ready for bed. And I am the Panic Writer. You can find me on Substack. You can find me everywhere else on social media under Red Pencil Script. And yeah, we don't sleep a lot. We just do this.
We just do this, folks. Please go to the
Yeah.
Panic Rider, subscribe. If you don't have the money, become a free subscriber. If you do have money, she has a special on right now. It's $3.75 a month, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're doing the same special I am, 25% off. So that must
Yep.
mean it's only $37 a year.
Yep. Sounds about right.
So, folks, please join and subscribe. Thank you, Ellie. I'm going to bring on
Thank
Nick
you. All right. See you later, guys.
for 10 minutes. Nick's been
Get some
waiting.
rest.
Nick
Get some
Nick
rest.
also does fantastic work. Yeah, you guys got to support Nick Paro. Hold on one second.
Nick is
One
great.
second. Let me bring Nick on real quick,
Yeah,
Lev.
yeah,
If you can,
Nick is great.
give me 5 seconds. All right. I want
Nick
Nick's thoughts on
is
this.
great.
And Nick is a veteran.
Yep.
And we're seeing veterans come out in the streets in Minneapolis. We're seeing people say, this is not what we fought for. This is not what we bled for. You guys are traitors. And it's encouraging, I think, to see veterans come out. We need a full frontal court press. Veterans, white moms, suburban moms, Democrats, elected officials. If I was Fry, Keith Ellison, I would come out every day and do a press conference, Lev and Nick. I would do every day. I would do a counter narrative. I would come out every day and come up with. I'd have a survivor. I'd have a white mom. I'd have a veteran who all were witnesses to it. I put them in front of the camera and I would tell them to tell ICE to back the f off. That's what I would do, Nick. It's all about optics. It's the narrative.
Yes, absolutely. And we can either lose the optics. Wash, thanks for inviting me on, Lev. It's good to see you. We can either lose the narrative that they're going to claim it's an insurrection, and that's going to be the end of it, and everything continues downhill from there, or we continue to fight back, like Zev and I did the other night when we talked about the disinformation around Renee's death and the video tampering, and we get out ahead of the regime and we fucking flood the zone on our side. Sorry for swearing. But we flood the zone on our side. We have to. We have to get rid of this timidness that we have on the Democratic side, because Chuck Schumer needs to push up his glasses a little bit higher and tighten his belt, because he either needs to get out of the way or do something. And I've got it in my head now because, Lev, you were talking about it the other day, but also because it's the right thing to. No, it was. I don't know if it was you who was talking about it, but anyway, we need to break quorum in Congress. We need to push out as many Republicans specifically, but also feckless, weak Democrats who aren't doing anything right now. Because if quorum breaks in Congress, we have to hold special elections. If there's under the quorum's threshold for Congress, we have to have special elections federally. So let's do it. Let's force them to resign and retire right now. If they're not going to do their jobs, force them out of them. And if the
I'm going to
Supreme
write
Court,
you a sternly worded email, Nick. Sternly worded email. I'm very disappointed by what you just said, Nick.
don't worry, Wash. I will write you a sternly worded AI response back, um, asking for $5 to donate to the Democratic National Campaign so that they can do nothing but give it back to Elon Musk and burn bridges and, kill all the rest of us and support APAC and bomb Gaza and say that it's okay to invade Venezuela or not step back from funding of ICE in any way. Impeach dog killer Kristi Noem, because that's where she went wrong in life, where she shot a dog in the face, and everything since then has gone downhill. You know, just the normal things.
I don't think they're going to change. I have no
No,
faith in them. But what I do have faith in, Lev and Nick, is the people. And I don't think Democrats or Republicans, who, let's be honest, I always try to be fair on this show, they both fed ICE. They both normalized ICE. They both funded DHS. They were perfectly fine being either a hardcore Republican or, let's be honest, Republican light on crime. This is why we're in the situation where we're in. Local police said rah, rah, rah. Now ICE is overrunning local police. We gave Donald Trump the weapon to use against terrorists that he's now using against Americans. We all warned about 23 years ago when I marched as a young man in these protests and warned about it. And now we're in this situation where they're responding to the people. I don't think they expected the people to come out in the streets. I don't think they expected to see the polls. I don't think they expected white people to be this pissed off. I don't have any faith in them doing the right thing. I think Jasmine Crockett came out today. She saw where the window's blowing. Chris Van Hollen, he's good. He's been consistent, right? But all these other guys, I think they need to have the fear of God in them. That if they don't do the right thing, it's primary season, folks. Right now is primary season. This is it. We got 6 months. I always tell people we don't even have 6 months, but
We have a
this
week
is
and a
it.
half, 2 weeks.
This is
We got
it.
a couple
Like
fucking weeks. Like,
I think, like, make the case for me, Nick. What am I missing? Why do we need to fund ICE? Make the
we
case
don't.
for me.
We don't. I can't make that case for you because I'm not a racist piece of shit or a white nationalist Nazi who wants to fucking kill people that look like you or who don't look enough like me. But then again, they would have to kill me because I'm Jewish too. So I guess I'll go in the camps with you
Lev, you're
with
Jewish
them.
too, right?
Um,
Oh yeah, all of us are enemies.
yeah, we're all enemies here. My thing is
Does this-
heck yeah, we're the minority of America that's kicking ass right now. And what I say to everyone in say Minnesota or anywhere around the country right now is if you have the money tomorrow, go out and buy a body cam, a dash cam, and a digital backup system that automates backups from either one of those two devices
Oh,
or your
that's
phone
smart.
so that you can auto record everything that ever happens and start setting up ice watch and ice patrols safely in your neighborhoods and around you. Get whistles, get blow horns, get fog horns, get all of the things and go out, get safety vests, big yellow safety vests, go out in banana costumes and frog suits. Make it so that you are making fun of them, but
That's
do
right.
it in a safe way. De-escalate the situations at all times, but go out with a buddy, go out with video cameras, go out with body cameras, go out with dash cams, do it. Follow them. Do not let what happened to Renee Nicole Good frighten you. Make it embolden you to do more. Go out and be louder right now than you ever have been.
If you remind me of something which I think is a great point. In addition to all the fantastic advice you gave about body cams and the backups, because these people are now deleting information. I don't trust them. So you want it to be stored and you want it to be live streamed so there's some record of it. But also the strength of a frog costume, a unicorn costume, silly hair, makeup, wigs. It makes it very, very hard for the regime to sell the narrative that these are violent insurrectionists when there is a giant frog filming them getting tear gassed. I know it sounds silly, folks. It's extremely effective. It's what worked in Portland, and it will make a lot of people be horrified. Like, that was a silly person in a frog costume that you beat up. How can that be an insurrectionist, right? And they've also lost Joe Rogan temporarily. He's a piece of shit, but still, this is extremely unpopular. They do not have the numbers, folks. They don't have the numbers. And to your point, Nick, about all us three of us being the enemies, Muslim and Jews here, the late. I love this. I love this quote, this video that was on Status Coup from 5 minutes ago. There's a Mexican dude in a car, and one of the journalists he stops. He says, "I want to talk to you," and he says, "Mexico, quote, Mexico all day. F Trump, F his wife. Mexicans and Native Americans and blacks, we belong here." And then a Minneapolis resident waves the Mexican flag. Uh, I love that. That's
I
awesome.
love that.
Can you imagine a frog with a Mexican flag? This is what we need. We need joyful resistance, and it's very tough, Lev, like you said, is because when people see their communities being terrorized, when they see moms getting murdered, naturally we're human beings, we respond. But this is what happens in Nazi regimes, right? They want you to respond so that they can say, wait for it, one of ours, all of yours. Lev, it's late. Nick, it's late. Lev, I'll let you get the final word for yourself and shamelessly promote yourself, sir.
Well, folks, it's late, but it's only getting started in Minnesota. We're watching. I want to say a prayer for everybody out there to stay safe. Those of you that are in Minnesota, stay safe, like Nick said, but stay loud. Don't let them scare you. That's their tactics. We just got to keep making sure that we get our voices heard and, funnel our energy, funnel our anger into the right motion and don't let them like Mayor Frey said, don't let them trap you. Don't fall for the trap because that's exactly what they're waiting for. They're waiting for that one thing to file an insurrection and install martial law. So, folks, if you can, you know where we are. Substack is our home. Subscribers, we have no paywalls. We are here to be able to give you the information. But the most important thing is if you can become paid subscribers because the algorithms, the information You want to make sure if you believe in what Waj is doing here, what Nick is doing here, what Ellie's doing, what I'm doing, and you want our information, the best way you could support us, the best way you could help us is commenting, sharing, subscribing, but becoming a paid subscriber. Also, not only helps the algorithm, but helps feeds the kids, pay the lights, and a lot of things. So, folks, we love you because for all of you, there's over 3,000 people, 12 o'clock at night. You know what that says? It says you care and you are involved. And, we are with you if you're with us. So,
No, thank you all, and subscribe to Lev. He gets great scoops, and a lot of people said, Lev, I'll say this before I let you go. They say, "Why do you talk to Lev?" I've lost, I think, potentially a friendship with someone who I won't know who I really respected because she's just so pissed off that I talked to Lev, and I'm like, man, like. I've been talking to him since the summer. If he says things I disagree with, or he ends up being a psychopath, I'm not gonna sit there and elevate him. But so far, from what I've seen in my talking to him, like at least once a week for the past 6 months, when he comes in with a scoop and he says, "Waj, I'm ready to go live with it," that scoop turns out to be 100%. So far, he's batting 1,000. He's been fair to me. I've been fair to him. I know he's done horrific things. I know all the horrible things he's done. Lev knows all the horrible things he's done. He's admitted all the horrible things he's done. I say, man, if you would have told me a year ago I'd be talking to Lev, I'm like that. Pardon me, Lev, that piece of shit, hell no. F him and all these other Trump cronies. But at the same time, he's also gone to jail. He's also been betrayed by the Trump administration. He's you're still on a supervised release, right,
yeah,
Lev?
yeah, still
Yeah,
super.
so I have to have some faith in people. And we need a broad tent and coalition without, of course, compromising our values and ethics to take on a fascist regime. So far, all I'll say is I can only judge a person by their actions and intentions. I'm not God. I don't know what's in Nick's heart. He doesn't know what's in my heart. I don't know what's in Lev's heart. But so far, he's done everything in his power to call out Trump, bring out the receipts. He has wild stories. Like randomly, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, Maduro. Should I tell you the time I talked to him?" Like, what the? Who are you, Lev? How do you know all these horrible people? And then he says, "I was part of the cult." And then he admits it. He goes, "I was part of the cult." So people are then out of the cult, and who are trying their best to make amends. I'm perfectly fine with it. And then someone will say, "What about Michael Cohen?" Even with Michael Cohen, I gave him some grace, but I'll tell you, with the Epstein files, I always felt eh. And now more and more, I'm like, I don't like it, which is why you don't see me sitting there giving him the benefit of the doubt. So there you go, folks. And I didn't like how he lunged on Zev for asking him a simple question after I left, and the way he's been evasive about this doesn't sit well with me. So I think he has questions to answer.
Well, Waj, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I appreciate your kind words, and I agree with you. And people could judge everybody for themselves about what we do because together we are trying to save our democracy. We're not putting on a show. We're not here to do some quiet merit. We're here to unite for humanity. But speaking about Michael Cohen for a second, and I want to, and a lot of people make excuses like we're giving them a chance. No, let's stop for a second. I really wasn't. And I'm really serious about everybody out there. And I want you for a second to think. We have right now the DOJ dropped Epstein documents. We have evidence they came in. Yes, it's only 1%. Babe, Olivia's up. Yes, it's only 1%. Yes, it's only not all the evidence, and they're playing games and everything. But in the evidence, we see a document from the DOJ where it says in black and white, where it's talking about Michael Cohen has told his attorneys in 2019 that he has information, not regular information, but information that would warrant to request Rule 35, which is basically to get out of jail free. And he said it plainly in black and white that his attorneys say that Michael Cohen has information about Epstein and about Donald Trump that he's heard information. So I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. If that came out and it said Donald Trump's name on it, or it said Steve Bannon's name on it, or it said any Republican, what are we sitting here and talking about? Michael Cohen has to answer. What does he know? What was the information he was going? And that's it. It's simple as that. And
And
it's
I
not.
have to have the courage. And Lev, like I said, I have to have the courage in my conviction that I said a long time ago, and I have to stand by it. That before anyone who comes out, whether it's Democrat, Republican, academics, philanthropists, people I respect, if it's shown that they partied with Epstein, they have questions to answer. I'll give you all one example. Noam Chomsky. I've been in correspondence with Noam Chomsky. I interviewed him at UC Berkeley. I did another interview with him later. He's always been very gracious and kind to me. I've respected a lot of his views. And then I saw him partying with Epstein. Inexcusable. He has questions to answer, right? I used to like Woody Allen movies, some fantastic movies. And then you find out, he might have raped his daughter and he married his adopted daughter and he's partying with Epstein. Okay, great. He made Annie Hall, fantastic movie, but I don't want to support a pedophile. Bill Clinton, so far it seems like he hasn't done anything, but you know what? Got questions to answer, Bill Clinton. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lose. If I was Bill Clinton, I said this to Lev, what I would do is the following. You want to ask me questions? Great. Let's bring around Donald Trump. Me and Trump at the same time. I'll bring all my evidence. I have nothing to hide. If I wanted to save the country, that's what I would do if I was Bill Clinton. So my take on that with Michael Cohen is, bro, I don't trust the way you've been dealing with people, the way you flipped out on Zev, the way you were mean against Ellie, the way you're telling people to F off. These are like, no one's trying to be an asshole or insinuate anything, but the fact you're so evasive on Epstein and now we have that email, you got to answer questions. Same thing with Michael Wolff, Nick and Lev. I'm the one that brought him on Substack Live. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Did 2 interviews with him. Then it came out that he was coaching Epstein. And I sent him an email. I said, bro, you got to come on. Let's talk about it. Haven't heard from him since, Nick.
Well, I would. I'm kind of glad you haven't heard from Michael Wolff since. It seems like Michael's not a good name to have right now. So I'm sorry if your name's Michael, but we got 2 really bad ones, or semi-bad ones. I don't know yet. One is pretty bad. The other is maybe. And I'll let you figure out which one you want of those 2. Is I think Cohen has to come clean, whatever it is. If he doesn't know any more and he is really telling the truth, then too fucking bad that you're going to have a headache for a couple months until all the evidence comes out and people are going to pester you over and over and over and over and over and over fucking again until ad nauseum.
But that's why I want to, and I apologize for interrupting, but that's
No good.
He plays a game saying, let all the evidence come out. What evidence are we waiting that's supposed to come out and say, well, pictures of Cohen and a picture with some underage girls? No, the evidence came out. This is a deal we're getting evidence. And right now we have evidence that contradicts. I mean, Michael Cohen's coming out saying he's never heard of Epstein. He's been with Trump for 14 years. I mean, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's happening. And right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Or that the sale of the Palm Beach mansion wasn't to a Russian oligarch, and that Russian oligarch's daughter lived in the mansion, even though there was no records of anyone ever living in the mansion while it was owned by them, and that it was at a super inflated price, and he led that sale, yet he doesn't know that went to a Russian oligarch or went through Russian money laundering, and like very clearly that it was. I'm an interrogator, or I was an interrogator at one point in my life, and you learn to ask a couple simple questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. And when the first question is answered in a lie, and then you keep asking secondary questions, and they all go down the same rabbit hole of, I don't want to talk about it. Wait till more comes out. They're lying to you.
Did you see today what happened at the Joe Walsh?
Oh, yeah. I was listening while you guys were doing that on both. I had both streams up at once.
Did you see what happened?
I was talking to either Ken or I was talking to Allison, and someone came on and said, holy crap, Michael Cohen just blew up on Joe Walsh. And of course, I got 800 kids and I'm doing another interview. Yeah. But that comment stuck in my head. So someone from the left hook saw both. I don't know anything else other than what she said.
Let me give you guys a little quick because I think this is important because so we were with Zev, Dean, and Ellie, we were doing a special whatever. I'm sorry, but the show was called the live whatever. And we were doing a special about Michael Cohen and what the letters coming out and also and all of a sudden Michael Cohen goes live simultaneously with Joe Walsh.
Okay.
and we start getting people in the comment area that are coming in and saying that Michael Cohen is saying this is all lies, that everything Ellie and you are saying like are lies and everything. I said, wait a second. I said, really? I said, I'm gonna go and join their talk. I said, let's have it out right now. I said, let's, you know me, Waj. I said, you wanna confront, let's confront. So I went on their feed, and when I showed up, everybody's like, hey, Lev is here. Lev wants to come up. And Michael Cohen's like, well, we're not gonna bring Lev up. And Joe Walsh goes, well, wait a second, let's bring Lev up. And Michael Cohen, well, me and Lev are friends. We're gonna talk off record. And I'm texting, no, we're not friends. You're a liar. Bring me up. And he's like, Joe Walsh is like, but Lev is texting. He wants to come up, and he's calling you a liar. And Michael Cohen, well, Joe, I was never in Prague. You know, I was never in Prague. Joe's like, what? It was like a moment where where he's like, what are you talking about? What Prague? Like I say, he goes, I mean, it was just
I feel bad for Joe because Joe, a lot of people came out earlier today and tagged Joe when it was known that he was going to go on a show with Michael. I tagged Joe and Michael and posted it on from what Ellie had revealed with the email. And I was like, hey, Joe, are you going to ask Michael about this on the show? Because basically I would if I were you. Like, I wouldn't put him on there unless I was going to ask that question. And if he's not going to answer it, I would end the interview. I would be like, hey, sorry, I'm gone. Like, no thanks. I don't want to be here with a liar and someone who's protecting pedophiles, and end the discussion. Like, that's all you have to do and all you have to say, and just leave. You don't have to be mean about it to them. You can just tell people the truth. The truth hurts. If you're a pedophile protector, that's your problem, not mine. Like,
And
too bad.
also, this is I've seen enough. He he's hiding something.
He is.
My spidey sense doesn't like it. I don't like the way he's treated other people. You can disagree with folks. We disagree with folks. It's fine. But the way he's snapped, this is like a trigger for him. Clearly, he's hiding something. And when you're hiding something, when it comes to the Epstein files, that means you are hiding something that concerns pedophilia and the trafficking and rape of girls. And I believe that, especially what we know now with the active cover up of the Epstein files, all the powerful players and institutions, your if you will, you have a very thin, short, small leash. I think when it comes to the Epstein files, you better like have a really good excuse and real quick. Otherwise, it's like, bro, I'm sorry. I've seen
And you
enough.
can't
I've seen
talk
the
the way
cover
to
up,
women that
and yeah,
Michael does.
and it keeps triggering him. Like, so there's something there. What is that something? If he has nothing to hide, I've always said this about the Epstein files. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lose. You come out and
Mhm.
say, "Man, I was invited to a conference. I had no idea this friggin' pedophile was there. There were all these rich people. I said what I had to say, and I left." Right? Some people probably got stuck like that. Or, hey, I got invited. Someone said there's this guy Epstein. I was on a plane. I didn't know. I went there. It was an island. There were a lot of young girls. I never came back. Whatever it is, like you
No, it's
say
not. No,
something.
no. I'm not even gonna let him go. No, I'm not even gonna allow him to get that because no, he was with him for 14. Let me remind you who
I'm not
Michael.
saying him live. I'm not saying him live. I'm just
Oh,
saying other people.
oh
If
yeah,
other yeah, if there's other people caught up
yeah,
in that, I'm okay.
absolutely,
I'll give like
Yeah,
sure.
the
absolutely.
truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And I tell you, even him, I don't have, you want to come tell us the truth and go what? I don't have a personal beef with you right here on TV because I want you to come tell the truth. I want the survivors to get their justice. I want to get Donald Trump out of office. And then we could, discuss our offline, whatever you want to discuss and go over whatever you want to go over if I even want to talk to you after that. Because listen, at the end of the day, right now, his actions, I always look at people and I always say the same thing, and I live by a certain motto. Watch what people do, not what they say. Okay, Michael Cohen does a lot of things, but the things that he did today, especially after he had the opportunity, he could have said, "You know what? Okay, let's do a live, Let's all of us. Let's get this on. Ellie, come on, Zev, whatever. Let's." No, he continued to deflect. He continued to call this lies. He continued to call this fabrication. He continued to even lie and make up stories about this Rule 35 that he was talking about some a case that doesn't even exist. And if it's the case that we're talking about, It's called Katie Johnson, Wash. So you know what I'm saying to you. So he has a lot to discuss, and the fact that right now we already have the evidence, and there's still people that are protecting and are like calling out and say, "Oh, like we should all unite right now to save our democracy." Really? So you're telling me we should allow? So then, why are you out there and saying release the Epstein files if you want to cover it up to save democracy? I mean, it's I don't understand.
And especially as we've said before, folks, the Epstein files. I know Lev agrees with me on this. I believe Nick might as well. If not, Nick, please correct me. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I've said
I
that
do.
the biggest club that we have right now, among the many clubs, there are many fires, many crises. We can walk and chew gum and juggle many balls at the same time, folks. As for those who are joining us late, the nearly 3,400 people, for those who joined us, we're going to have this up on all our Substacks. The first 30 minutes was me doing a DeLorean timeline about Stephen Miller and this Trump administration specifically trying to create a Rackstack fire with their attack on immigrants that got us to the moment where ICE is now unleashed and now has shot a second person in Minneapolis. Then we talked about the Minneapolis response where flashbangs and tear gas are being deployed against innocent communities. Mayor Fry's press conference, how Todd Blanche is threatening Mayor Fry and also now Governor Walz. Then we brought on Ellie and Lev and Nick have come on. We talked about the Epstein files. And specifically, I still believe, Nick, the Epstein files are the biggest club that we have. It's over 80% of Americans, independents, Republicans, and Democrats. It's the only thing Americans agree on this insane, self-destructive, divided country, that we want the release of the Epstein files. And this is the biggest club that we have to swing against Trump.
Yes. Over and over and over again, every single day, we talk about it. I talk about it on Sick of This Shit publications. I talk about it on Banner and Backbone. I talk with Ellie Leonard about it. I talk with Zev Shalev about it. I talk with Lev about it. Like, we talk about it a lot. We talk about the Epstein files. We talk about the survivors. We talk about the victims. We talk about wanting to make sure that when stories come out, that they're vetted and well understood. So if there are untruthful stories that come out, we can push against them. And if there are truthful stories that come out, we can ensure that those get the correct light of day that they deserve, because it's for the survivors and it's not for us. Like, Michael, if you know anything, and anybody else, if anybody else knows anything, like Lev and Wash have both said, the truth will set you free. Come say it. Just put it out there. Put it out there, and people will. If you weren't one of the main perpetrators, people will probably give you some grace at this point in time and say, thank you for ending this, because we have to end it, because the country cannot be run by pedophiles. We cannot have criminals running our nation and then invading others saying, oh, look at the pedophiles and terrorists around the world. We're going to stop them, but not here at home. 80% of Americans hate pedophiles.
Which is good, which is something.
Yeah, which is good. I'm proud of that. I'm super proud to hear that. Yes, but what about the 20% of you people? Come on.
We can't win the 20. Lev, we'll finish it up and we'll go. Yeah.
Yeah, like Ellie said, Michael Cohen could be a hero. Michael Cohen could come out right now and say what he knows, and and not wait until this is released and that's released. To make a long story short, I'm speaking to Congress people to subpoena Michael Cohen, because that piece of paper is very serious, because that's not just him saying on a news radio show or on Substack Live. He had his lawyers, while he was in prison, asked to go say that he had evidence that would be a criminal evidence to be able to get off and get Rule 35. So I'm going to be pushing Rokana, Massey, and everybody else, subpoena just like you are. So what is Michael Cohen? What did he know in 2019? What is that evidence? Put it down under oath. Let's get it down and let's move on. We have the evidence, folks. It's in there. The Epstein files drop. There's a thing called secrets. God's giving us,
Lifting the veil.
Exactly. Let's not pass it by. Right now we have this. What we're still going after, Trump and everything, but right now we have somebody that might have certain information. Let's bring him in. Let's ask him, what did you mean by that? What is the information you had? And go on. Let's move on to the next one and keep going. Let's go, folks. It's easy as that.
My bad. Zev's here also. We're ending. I had no idea Zev was here, man. My bad.
I'm sorry.
Or else we would have brought in Zev. But Zev Shalev also has done fantastic reporting on the Epstein files. He's been following the money trail for a while, and apparently, he inadvertently kickstarted all this by asking a very benign, I think, fair question of Michael. And this was right after I had left, and then apparently he blew up on Michael blew up on him. So sorry, Zev, I didn't know you were here, man. Or else I would have brought you in. Nick, shamelessly promote yourself.
You can find me at Sick of This Shit Publications. Thank you, Waj, for inviting me on to come talk about this stuff and make sure people know. Lev, it's always good to see you. But yeah, find me at Sick of This Shit Publications and find me at bannerandbackbone.com. There's some really cool stuff we're working on in the background to help the community and help creators. And you're going to be seeing a lot of me, as always, hopefully seeing a lot with me with Lev in the future, in the near future, hopefully. And so keep an eye out. We got a lot of great things rolling.
I appreciate, especially Ellie, Nick, Lev, Zev, others being here and joining us. I just joined on because I was really horrified by what I'm watching right now, and I hope I'm wrong, folks. And I get no. I really mean this. There's no. Whenever people say, "Oh, Waj, I told you so," I know there's none. No joy. I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong, we all sleep. We all, I'll go find something else to do. I've done many jobs in my life. All right. I'll write a novel. I've always wanted to write. I started as a playwright. My play's right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was my published play by McSweeney's, and then I wrote a memoir. I've always wanted to write a screenplay so I'll go do that. But right
We're
now,
gonna have to talk about that someday when this is all done.
I've had an interesting life.
Because I've got music that's composed and I have scores in my closet.
See that? Yeah,
see?
with all these things that we want to do, and inshallah, one day we will get to do it. But right now, the moment calls on some of us to do what we can with the limited time and efforts and talents that we have is try to fight back against this authoritarian regime. So I am really worried that we don't have months and we don't have weeks. It's escalating. They're getting desperate. They're getting violent, and we need all hands on deck. And if anyone is watching right now, if you have people in the dark, share this with them. Share this with them. Wake people up right now. There's about 3,500 people watching at 12:26 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all. For those who joined us late, real quick, I'll let you know that I start off just giving a recap of what's happening right now in Minneapolis. Gave a DeLorean timeline of how we got here. Did my best to bring all the facts about why we should expect them to try to do a rack stack fire and invoke the Insurrection Act. My thesis as to why we should be eyes wide open for potential martial law. Ellie and Lev came on. They gave their thoughts. Lev has heard from his sources saying they're chomping at the bits right now, drooling, looking at what's happened in Minneapolis. They desperately want a crisis. They want a rack stack fire. They want to crack heads. Todd Blanche literally threatens Mayor Fry, uses all the words terrorism, insurrection. Folks, if you think we're crazy, trust the evidence of your eyes and your ears. Nick and Ellie and Lev then came on and we talked about the Epstein files and specifically Michael Cohen, who has questions he has to answer. And then Zev was here, but I saw him late. So, folks, thank you all. This is the Left Hook. No paywalls. Everything's free. I have a terrible capitalist special. It's 25% off for the month of January forever. $3.75. thelefthook.substack.com/special. Nick Paro, go subscribe to him. Ellie, subscribe. Zev, subscribe. Left, subscribe. I hate saying this, but this is how the algorithm works. If you don't have the money, there's no paywalls. At least subscribe, folks, and share the content. For those who joined us late, this will be up on my Substack, Ellie's Substack, Nick's Substack, and Lev's Substack in about 20-25 minutes. We'll publish it. Thank you all. Take care. Sleep well. Eyes wide open. All hands on deck. And please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Take care, everyone. Rest up.